Hello, welcome to PG Pathshala. This is paper 6, Radiation Biophysics, module 7, X-ray output. I am Dr. Sunil Dutt Sharma from Radiological Physics and Advisory Division of Bhabha Atomic Research Center, Mumbai. The objective of this module is to explain the following. Number 1, X-ray tube output, the measurement of X-ray tube output, factors affecting X-ray tube output including kilovoltage, milliampere, a spectral distribution, voltage waveform, ripple, anode angle and anode surface, filtration, collimation and focus to imager distance. Introduction. Patient dose measurement in diagnostic radiology is an important step towards the optimization of X-ray exposure to the patient. The knowledge of the tube output is helpful in selecting optimum parameters for operating the machine for a given clinical examination. Incident air karma, which is in brief written as IAK or KI, or entrance surface air karma, that is SAC or KE, is the quantity recommended for patient dose measurement in diagnostic radiology. However, it may not be possible all the time to measure IAK or SAC because KE is equal to KI into B. So, in this case, patient dose is estimated indirectly from the measured X-ray tube output and the exposure parameters used for the examination. X-ray tube output is also measured for verifying the performance of the X-ray machine under quality assurance program. So, this module describes the X-ray tube output, method of its measurement and the factors affecting X-ray tube output. So, we will start with the definition of X-ray tube output. International Commission on Radiological Units and Measurement report number 74 2006 defines the X-ray tube output YD as the quotient of air karma and the tube current exposure time product, that is PIT. The equation has been given here. So, D is the distance from the focal spot of the X-ray tube. As shown in the figure and a schematic setup has been demonstrated. The tube current exposure time product, that is MS, is also called tube loading. The tube output is usually expressed in the units of milligray per ms. The older definition of the output of the X-ray tube, also called as X-ray tube efficacy, is the amount of exposure in milliroentgen delivered to a point in the center of the useful X-ray beam at a distance of 1 meter from the focal spot for 1 ms of electrons passing through the tube. The efficacy value expresses the ability of an X-ray tube to convert electronic energy into X-ray exposure. Knowledge of the efficacy value for a given tube permits the determination of both patient and image receptor exposures. The value of exposure in MR can be converted to air karma in milligray using the relation 1 MR is equal to 0.876 into 10 to the power minus 2 milligray. The figure illustrates X-ray tube output and other quantities used for patient dosimetry. Now, we will discuss how to measure the X-ray output experimentally. So, here we have shown one photograph and one figure for depicting the measurement technique. For the measurement of X-ray tube output, a suitable dosimeter is placed in air on the central axis of the X-ray beam and sufficiently high above the table top to minimize the contribution of backscatter radiation. Alternatively, a solid state dosimeter with shielding from backscatter may be placed on the patient table or floor for the measurement of X-ray tube output. So, the figure shows typical setup in which a calibrated solid state dosimeter has been placed at the table top along central axis of the beam at 1 meter distance from the focal spot, say large focal spot. The X-ray beam is collimated to fully cover the dosimeter from all sides. With this setup, the X-ray tube is operated selecting a typical kVp and ms values, e.g. 70 kVp, 70 ms, and the reading of the air karma is recorded. The X-ray tube output is calculated by taking the ratio of recorded air karma and ms values. This measurement is repeated for about 5 times, but ideally it should be done 10 times at this kVp, and the ms and mean values of the X-ray tube output is calculated. The whole process is repeated for a range of kVp, say for example 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, and mean X-ray output is determined. A typical setup for measurement of X-ray tube output using a calibrated solid state dosimeter which has lead backing to reduce backscatter has been shown in the figure. The dosimeter and its control unit are also shown in this figure for demonstration purpose only, and in actual situation the dosimeter control unit is kept in the operator area inside the protective lead barrier. In general, X-ray tube output is measured at a range of tube voltages and for the filters in clinical use. The X-ray tube output is measured at a range of kV and for the filters in clinical use. For the purpose of interpolation, the output for each filter can be fitted as YD, that is X-ray output, is equal to A into kV to the power n, where A and n are constants. Value of A is specific to the filter used and n is approximately equal to 2 for tungsten targets. Now the plot of log YD and log kV is also shown in this figure. So the curve contains the X-ray tube output versus kV of the X-ray beam for no filter, for 0.1 mm copper filter, 0.2 mm copper filter, and 0.3 mm copper filter. Variation of tube output with tube voltage for a tungsten target X-ray tube filtered with various thickness of copper was shown in the earlier figures. So now we will see factors affecting X-ray tube output. The X-ray tube output depends on a number of parameters, including those involved in production of X-rays. These parameters are target material, tube voltage, tube current, a spectral distribution of photon fluence, which is also specified in terms of half value thickness, voltage waveform, anode angle and anode surface, filtration, collimation, and focus to point of interest distance, that is distance of image plane. So now we will see the effect of tube voltage first. Tube voltage, which is generally expressed as kV or kVp, is very useful in controlling the radiation output of an X-ray tube. Figures shows the variation of X-ray tube outputs with tube voltage, that is relative output and output in the unit of MR per ms respectively. These two figures clearly show a non-linear relationship between X-ray tube output and kV. It is normally assumed that the radiation output is proportional to the square of the kV. Thus, under a simple approximation, doubling kV quadruples the output of the X-ray tube. The dependence of X-ray tube output on tube voltage, that is relative output, and output in MR per ms has already been shown in the figure earlier. So, this conclusion we draw whatever we discuss in this. The tube current MA. The tube current MA is equal to the number of electrons flowing from the cathode to anode per unit time. The exposure or intensity of the beam for a given kV, say for example 60 kV, and filtration is directly proportional to the tube current as we have seen earlier. However, it is also observed from the figure that the tube current has no influence on the photon distribution. Indeed, X-ray tube output is proportional to exposure time. Thus, photon intensities are proportional to product of tube current and time, that is MAS. This effect of tube current and time has been shown in the given figure when the X-ray machine is operated at 60 kVp. Now we will see the spectral distribution and effect of half value thickness on the X-ray tube output. For determining X-ray tube output in terms of air karma per unit MAS, total photon fluence is used. However, total photon fluence is not a satisfactory quantity to describe X-ray output, and one should look for the spectral distribution of photon fluence as a function of photon energy. Thus, a parameter called half value layer and abbreviated as HVL is a measure of the penetration, and the quality of the X-ray spectrum is measured, and output of the X-ray tube is quoted along with HVL. HVL is that thickness of observer which attenuates the X-ray beam output to 1/2 of its initial value. Aluminum is commonly used observer in diagnostic radiology, hence the HVL is generally quoted in terms of millimeter of aluminum. Now we will see the effect of tube voltage ripple. Voltage waveform describes the manner in which the tube voltage changes with time during the X-ray production process because of the cyclic nature of the electrical supply. Different types of voltage waveforms are used. The waveform with the least kVp variation during the operation of the tube is the most effective X-ray producer. Most of the recent diagnostic X-ray equipment uses generators that produce relatively constant kV throughout the exposure. For example, generators powered by 3-phase electricity can produce 6 and 12 pulses per mains cycle with voltage ripples of 13.4 and 3.4% respectively. Ripple can be reduced even further to ideally 0% in the constant potential generator. Inverter generators consist of circuitry which invert the incoming AC to DC before chopping into a medium frequency 2 kHz or high frequency 200 kHz and then transforming this to a kilovoltage. Such generators can produce a voltage ripple of about 5%. Voltage ripple also affect the X-ray tube output as can be seen in the figure. So, a DC voltage gives the hardest spectrum with maximum photon yield. With an increase in ripple, the yield drops and the spectrum softens. For example, if we analyze this figure, we see that the ripple of 3.4% and the HVL of 2.44, the karma value is 59.6 microgray per ms. Similarly, when the DC ripple is 13.4% and first HBL is 2.3.8. The karma value is 56.8 micrograde per ms. For DC ripple of 100%, the first HBL is 2.1 millimeter of aluminum and the karma value is 38.1%. So we see from here, with an increase in ripple, the yield drops, that is output decreases and the spectrum softens. This figure is basically a spectra of 70 kVp X-ray beams from a tungsten target with varying tube voltage ripple. So DC is nothing but constant potential. 3.4% is for 12 pulse generator, 13.4% is for 6 pulse generator and 100% is 2 pulse generator. Now we will see the effect of anode angle and anode surface on the X-ray tube output. The degree of X-ray absorption in anode material, that is anode self absorption, depends on, now we will see the effect of anode angle and anode surface on X-ray output. The degree of X-ray absorption in anode material, that is anode self absorption, depends on anode angle. The decrease in anode angle causes increase in the absorption length within the target material. Accordingly, the maximum photon energy remains unchanged, but hardness increases and X-ray yield, that is X-ray output, drops with decreasing anode angle, as has been shown in the figure. This figure shows the spectra of 90 kV X-ray beams obtained at different anode angles. The anode surface roughness increases with tube load, which increases the self filtration. Hence, there is a slight increase in the X-ray hardness and decrease in output over operational life of the tube. So now we will see the effect of filtration on the X-ray tube output. Low energy photons do not contribute in the image formation because of their limited penetration, and hence filters are used to reduce the low energy components of the X-ray spectrum. The total filtration of an X-ray tube includes inherent filtration by the tube components, that is tube wall, and added filtration. The effect of added filters on an X-ray spectrum, that is 90 kV with 3.4% ripple, have been shown in the figure. As can be seen from this figure that increasing filtration causes a spectral hardening and reduction in tube output. So now we will see the effect of collimation on the X-ray tube output. A collimator is a metallic barrier with an aperture in the middle used to reduce the size of the X-ray beam, and thus the volume of irradiated tissue within patient is also reduced. Main function of the beam collimator is to protect the patient by limiting the beam aperture to the area of examination and minimize the scatter radiation, which contributes in minimizing the quality of the image. The reduction in beam aperture results in reduction in beam output. Then we will see the effect of focus to imager distance, that is FID. The X-ray beam intensity is generally inversely proportional to the square of the distance from the focal spot. The X-ray tube with its collimator can be assumed as a point source for distances greater than about 50 cm from the focal spot, and hence it obeys the inverse square law, that is ISL, for distances greater than 50 cm. However, at low kV. For example, in mammography, air attenuation is non-negligible and affect the inverse square relationship. So figure presents variation in X-ray tube output for focus to point of interest distance ranging from 50 to 250 centimeter. The curve calculated using ISL relationship is also shown in this figure. Basically, this figure is taken for a 30 kV tungsten target 0.5 mm aluminum added filter output with distance from the X-ray tube and focus ranging from 50 to 250 centimeter. Now we will also include in this discussion the selection of instrumentation for dosimetry output measurement of X-ray beam. For your information, output measurement of X-ray beam is an important component of quality assurance program. It is required that output measured should be consistent and it should also have the required linearity. The consistency means if I measure the output of the machine today with a given setup of the machine, it should be valid for tomorrow or even after day after tomorrow or many subsequent days when this machine is used for the similar setup of the operating parameters. Linearity means if output has been measured for a given set of parameters, say for example 70 kV and 50 ms, and machine is having capability of operation up to maybe 500 ms or 600 ms, and if one operates this machine at 100 ms, then whatever output I have measured at that kVp with 50 ms, and if I try to see the output at 100 ms, it should be exactly double. So similarly, this is true for other values of ms. So what I mean to say, that output measurement in diagnostic radiology is one of the important component of the quality assurance program, not just for optimizing the patient dose and trying to minimize the retakes, but also for the purpose of consistency and linearity in output of the X-ray performance. For ensuring this requirement, selection of instrument use is very important. Now we know that doses from diagnostic radiological examinations are small and usually do not approach threshold for deterministic effects. Exceptions are found for interventional procedures in radiology and cardiology that may involve high dosage to the skin of the patient. Severe skin injuries has been documented. Even ignoring the high dosage found for interventional procedure, it needs to be realized that the greatest source of exposure of the population to artificial ionizing radiation is from diagnostic radiology. The dosage delivered in diagnostic radiological procedure should therefore be accurately determined in order to maintain a reasonable balance between image quality and patient exposure. Dosimetric method should be used that ensure appropriate levels of accuracy and long-term stability. Very specifically, various examination techniques are employed in X-ray diagnostic radiology. This includes fluoroscopy, interventional radiological procedures, mammography, computed tomography, and dental and general radiography. X-ray beam with tube voltages ranging from 20 to 150 kV are used as we discussed earlier. The tube voltage in fluoroscopy, computed tomography and general radiography cover the range of 50 to 150 kV, the anode material usually being tungsten. Mammographic examinations are conducted with tube voltage between 22 kV and 40 kV, and various combinations of anode and filtration materials are used. The most common materials being molybdenum anode and molybdenum filtration. An accurate measurement of dose requires correct calibration of the instrument in radiation fields of known properties. In diagnostic radiology, the specification of radiation qualities is important as the response of all dosimeters depends at least to a certain extent on the spectral distribution of the X-rays implied. So radiation qualities are usually specified in terms of the X-ray tube voltage first and also including HVL value along with the kV. Now we have different types of dosimeters available for dosimetry in diagnostic radiology. For example, we have a variety of ionization chambers. The first ionization chamber, which is generally used in a standard laboratories, free air ionization chamber. So in the energy region considered in diagnostic radiology, the free air ionization chamber is the primary standard for realizing the unit gray for the quantity air karma. So various primary standard dosimetry laboratories and some secondary standard dosimetry laboratories use free air ion chambers to determine the air karma rate in X-ray beams. Comparisons of measurements with free air ion chambers from different institutes usually agree to within 0.5%, which is within the limit of uncertainty involved in comparisons. Once the air karma rate of a beam has been established, the reference class dosimeter is calibrated, that is the user dosimeter is calibrated using this dosimeter. Secondly, we have other varieties of ionization chamber, that is cylindrical and plane parallel chambers. The most common type of ion chamber for diagnostic radiological measurement of air karma is a plane parallel chamber. Plane parallel chamber, also known as parallel plate chambers, are two parallel flat electrodes separated by a few millimeters. They are calibrated with their plates oriented perpendicular to the X-ray beam, which is also the orientation in which they should be used. Some of these chambers have different entrance and exit windows, in which case it is important that the entrance window faces the X-ray focal point. On the other hand, the response of cylindrical chamber is symmetrical with respect to the chamber axis. So they are usually oriented with the cylindrical axis of the chamber perpendicular to the X-ray beam. Irrespective of their geometrical design, ion chambers used in diagnostic radiology should be of the vented type, that is, their sensitive gas volume should communicate with the environment of the room. We also have CT chamber or CT ionization chamber for dosimetry in CT scanners. Ionization chamber are made in different designs for specialized applications. For example, a lengthened version of a cylindrical chamber results in a unique design for computed tomography. A CT chamber is often termed a pencil chamber because its active volume comprises a thin cylinder 100 mm in length or sometimes even longer. While most chambers are designed to be immersed in a uniform beam for proper measurement, the CT chamber is designed for non-uniform exposure from a single scan or a number of scans. Typically, the chamber is inserted inside a phantom that is used to attenuate the primary beam and to generate a scattered X-rays, simulating conditions when a patient is in the field. For the measurement of the air karma length product, the chamber is positioned parallel to the rotation of the scanner, either free in air or inside a cylindrical chamber, and thus CT dosimetry is done. Even transmission ionization chambers are also used in diagnostic radiology. In addition to ion chambers, we have a variety of solid state dosimeters which is generally used for output measurement of X-ray tubes. Dosimeters with thermoluminescent and semiconductor detectors are considered under the category of solid state dosimeter here. Real-time measurements may be conveniently accomplished with semiconductor dosimeters. The small size of thermoluminescent dosimeter, that is TLDs, allows their application for conducting measurements even on patients. Traditionally, the main disadvantage of these devices has been their energy dependence of response, which differ considerably from that of ion chambers. These type of dosimeters have found many applications in postal audits or in routine clinical measurements in hospitals, but they are not used in a standard dosimetry laboratory because they are thought to be the field class dosimeters only. Now we can give you some details about TLDs. Some materials on absorption of radiation retain part of the absorbed energy in metastable states that are a result of defects in the material lattice. These trapped electrons or holes remain at the metastable state until they are excited to recombine and emit the energy in the form of light. If the method of excitation is heat, then the process is termed thermoluminescence. The amount of light emitted is proportional to the radiation absorbed in the material and thus to the mass of the active phosphor present. Thermoluminescence has found great use in dosimetry. So TLDs are available in various forms, for example in powder form, chips form, rod forms, ribbon forms, and made up of various TL materials. Dosimeters most commonly used in medical applications are based on lithium fluoride doped with magnesium and titanium, that is LiF MgTi, but other materials such as LiF MgCuP, lithium borate doped with manganese, calcium sulfate doped with dysprosium, and calcium fluoride doped with manganese have also been used for a variety of dosimetry measurement in diagnostic radiology. So now we will summarize the discussion have in this module. The knowledge of X-ray tube output is important for selecting optimum settings for operating the tube for a given imaging purpose. The X-ray tube output is also measured for evaluating the performance of the tube for quality assurance purposes. The X-ray tube output depends on both the quantity and quality of the X-ray beam. The X-ray tube output is expressed in terms of air karma per unit current exposure time product, that is milligray per MAS or microgray per MAS at a given distance from the X-ray tube focus. Traditionally, X-ray tube output was also expressed in the unit of milliroentgen per MAS. 1 milliroentgen per MAS is equal to 0.876 into 10 to the power minus 2 milligray per MAS. The X-ray tube output can be measured experimentally either by placing a calibrated dosimeter in air at a distance from the tabletop or by placing a calibrated backscatter shielded dosimeter at the tabletop. The X-ray tube output depends on the number of parameters, which includes kilovoltage, that is beam energy, milliampere, that is beam current or milliampere time product, a spectral distribution, that is HBL, voltage ripple, anode angle and anode surface, filtration, collimation and focus to point of interest distance. Both X-ray quality and quantity increase with increasing tube potential, that is KB, and hence the beam output. The tube output increases with increasing the tube current, that is MA. X-ray tube output increases with decreasing voltage ripple. So X-ray output decreases with decreasing anode angle. Anode surface roughness increases with tube load, which increases the self filtration and hence slightly decreases the tube output. Increasing filtration causes reduction in X-ray tube output. Beam collimation controls the X-ray beam aperture and the amount of scattered radiation. At focus to point of interest distance greater than 50 centimeter, X-ray tube output obeys or follows the inverse square law. In addition, the suitable dosimeter in various forms, either ionization chamber, TLDs and other dosimeters are also used in output measurement. So, with this we conclude module 7. Thank you.